Roll call, please.
Dr. Swab.
Here.
Mrs. Brewer,
Here.
Pastor Reindl, Mr. Biesecker, Mr. Manuel.
I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. And the first item on our agenda is review and approval of the minutes and our current agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Just number 11, if we could switch that with the proposal that I've got here next to your agendas, that would be the only modification that I would have to suggest tonight.
Thank you very much. Any other
Additions or deletions?
I move to A and B.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call for approval.
Mr. Biesecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reindl.
Yes.
Pastor Reindl.
Is item C, the August 16th, 2020 minutes of our special meeting. Motion to approve. A second. Any discussion or questions regarding those minutes?
Questions regarding these?
Hearing none, then roll call for approval.
Mr. Biesecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reindl.
Yes.
Yes.
Item is item D, spotlight. Mr. Cannon will give an update on project activities.
Let's go ahead and switch to Mrs. Lady first. And then
We'll just go to our administrative updates.
And there we go.
And then he's announcing right now, so.
It's a little slower than expected.
So they'll come back. Well, it's hard to believe it's been almost about a month since we got to go see Gary Brooks for our professional development, the first on the 24th. We got to go see him present with Dark County Schools. And if you've never seen Gary Brooks, I would definitely recommend you check him out. He adds a little humor to being in a position in a school district. So all the teachers at the elementary level got to go see Gary Brooks, listen to his humor, and then he also shared some advice to keep the school year going. And so there's the pictures of the teachers in the presentation. The writing prompt for them that are because but so's what did this teach us because about being energetic for being a school year is because there's a but and so it's like all those papers that all the teachers filled out. I was going to hang them around the room, but I did not get the opportunity to do that today. I was in Columbus all day for a meeting. So if you'd like to see those, I'm more than willing to scan some of them and share them out to all of you so you can see what they learned from Gary Brooks and how we use that writing prompt. They're also using it for kids that we talk about as well. Some of those out so you can take a look at them on emails. But it was an exciting time and it was nice. And then after we were done, Jamie Sink took the ideas that he shared with us. He's a principal in Lexington, Kentucky, and so he goes around during the summertime, and like I said, he takes real life situations and adds humor instead of getting frustrated by some of them. He adds the humor, but keeps in mind that all of these things take place. So Jamie Sink made this for every teacher to have in their classroom, remind them, I bought some light switches and I bought some little phones you're supposed to talk to yourself, but switch the work light off, switch to transitions, so you can use them for yourself when you're ready to leave. Don't take work home with you. Actually try to spend time with your family with something he said, as well as you could switch light for your students when they come back in from recess. We're going to switch this off and switch it back on because now we're getting ready to focus on our academics. So he shared these throughout the entire time. He talked about a girl in his class when he was young about having dignity for everybody. He took the cup knowing that she had taken it from a breakfast bar. And he talked about how having everybody sign that meant something to show dignity, that we should still support everybody because we come from different places. They're carrying post-it notes on that much, or leaving positive notes to one another that they notice something good that they see each other doing. Participate, don't stay back, make sure you have a voice and you're heard. having a pacifier there. He says he gets these out at like a special or an IEP meeting to know that this is someone's child you're talking about. And so when you put that pacifier out there, it keeps everybody's mind to say, remember, as you're talking, this is somebody's baby that you're talking about. And looking through other lenses, my goal was to buy everybody a pair of reading glasses so they're seeing everybody's lens, how we see the world, but see the world the same way. And that's what makes this world great, because we see things differently. So I loved it. It was very inspiring to start the school year.
These are like the week, the first week of school. I was out yesterday because today I was sick yesterday and today I was at that meeting. But these are the ones from the first week that we have. We have Colt C, Kinsley Tegmeyer, Zoe Huddleston, and Trinity Clack were our 4 students in the week. At the beginning of the year, Mrs. Ank set up her classroom. And
She's retiring, so it was our last time for her to start the school year, so she's trying to make it an exciting times. She started with 5th grade reading cafe where they all got to taste the different types of books, so she set it up like a pizzeria where they got to taste the books by reading those and deciding what they think was the best and why.
that was kind of exciting to go in and see. And then 4th grade, we had surgeons in there. Dr. Swab, she should have had you come in for that. They're looking at actual x-rays, discussing the details they had to look at in an x-ray to decide what they should do as far as the treatment. And that was leading into the details and the writing that they got to do, the details and the reading. So it was exciting times. This is something they had them all ready to go, and then they actually get to play to go into their operation and different pieces and the detail tapes and the precision to get those out. So maybe Dr. Swab will be talking about you coming in and talking to that class. And then we did, thanks to Mrs. Chloe Thompson, the bus drivers, they all were there to help with showing evacuations before we had to take that to the field trip, and so they were able to learn how to get in and out of the bus. Chloe got that set up for us so everybody was safe on the bus. Our fundraiser kickoff was yesterday. We are selling delicious items. If you're interested, elementary students, this helps us pay for field trips. Any extracurriculars, like we have the baking club, which we now have been doing since, here, but it's still staying whatever it is, we get to get back to normal. So please, if you know anybody, there are some very delicious foods that we're selling through this fundraiser, so check it out. I'll take it from you now.
Right, before I talk about students, we very ready to start the school year here, especially for me, being second year, opposed to first year, we really don't know anybody, just learning the routines and how the structure of the school roles, and this year was much better, knowing the kids' basics back in and everything. Now it's just the 6th graders we're starting to learn, and that's coming along pretty quick. It's not like real big class. So first 2 weeks of school is our week of the week here. Doing a great job. So we have Brian McGraw, Dr. Katie Spurlock, Casey Jones, two Huddlestons. I'm around. Katie Clack, Bates. Looks like it. And Cameron Blackwell. So those are our students a week so far. With that, they get a free one pass and play nice. When ice comes in, Bob and Michelle's favorite day of the week. So they get that. We have homecoming coming up next week. So a lot of things going on. Though we're not playing Friday night football games, we're still going to proceed with homecoming like normally we would. Homecoming course this year, our candidates, our Parker Davis and kids, Landon Mon, Brendan Baker, Dalton Ruck, and our Queen candidates are Bella Brewers, Diane Buchanan, Mara Clark, Ella Hamilton, and great kids. Love having them here in the building. And the nice thing is, most of these kids are in the building, so I be my secretary here at the Good Service. I mean, I know them as well. Most of these kids are in the building, minus Landon and Ben, but because of their sports and everything, I've got to know them as well. So these are 10 really good kids that are going to represent this building. So very proud of them. So lots of things coming up for high school. Lots of things. Thursday we have Dark County Arts coming in. They have an a cappella group coming in. I've already talked to the principal at San Antonio. He said it was amazing. He said the kids loved it. So really looking forward to that. Crazy. Things are due next Wednesday. So we are almost halfway done with the first 9 weeks, which seems just unreal to me. Like I said, we're gonna have homecoming parade next week, 6:15, still line up like we always would. We're gonna do the crowning. After that, I put in 6:45, it'll be in that 6:30, 6:45 range. Then we're gonna have how to play buff and tough at 7 o'clock. So the kids are all getting signed up, they're getting excited about that night. So, and then we have the homecoming dance on that Saturday, the first, from 7 to 10. It's for all freshmen through seniors. PTO does meet on the 5th at 6. And then again, kind of crazy to think about, but not too far off, we have a pumpkin show coming. So, you know, with lots of things going on. I was at the pumpkin show last year, and I'm sure I'll still have plenty of you ready in the office this year. But we will still have the 2-hour early release on the 14th, so that we can do the parade. So everybody will be in the parade. I think last year we only had a couple kids that opted out of the parade. So, you know, by and large, the entire building is in the parade. It's a great thing for the school and the community. A lot of fun. Sorry.
So this year we switched things up and did just a little bit differently. And we ended up doing our volunteer game at the beginning of the year instead of closer to a couple weeks now. Because Lee's birthday was actually August 30th. So we wanted to kind of have a couple of and do that. So here's a couple pictures. We actually played that evening. And then the high school game on August 29th. Junior high held a game as well on September 1st, Thursday, and combined we were able to donate about $1,800 to their family. That was really nice. We had huge support those 2 evenings. Again, something else that did a little bit early this year was senior night for our football, cheer, and golf. And we did that a couple years ago when we played Covington. So I put some pictures up here of all of our seniors. There's Bella Brewer, Asia Felber, Cheyenne Cannon, Sarah Beckstead. And Amanda Monin, Izzy Hamilton, Dalton Rutt, and Skinner over here. And then this is Chase Ashby, Ben Pitt, Shay Squid, and Brick Forget. Volleyball was their senior night on October 6th, again, up in Valley South. And then some upcoming events. We have a lot of big things actually coming up. The first one, right now, there's only one game going on. We're playing Shawnee right now. High school volleyball, the junior high school at Covington. And then on Thursday, golf actually participate in the WOAT competition already. That was over in Richmond Elks. That evening, we have a couple volleyball games, and on Saturday, our cross country will be over at Versailles along with junior high volleyball, junior football will Dixie. Monday, we got high school volleyball here at home against Union City. And then on Tuesday, we've got quite a few things going on. Golf will be playing in the sectionals over at Turtle Creek Road. And that evening, we've got volleyball at high school volleyball at Mrs. Noah and cross country at Tri Village. Then a couple more things. On the 29th, high school volleyball will host Tri Village. Junior volleyball will go there. And then, like Mr. Barr said, we are doing Buff and Tough and Fire Puff and Homecoming Parade and running all of that good stuff on September 30th. The boosters are going to run concession stands. They're going to try to make things as normal feeling as possible and as fun for the community and the students as we possibly can. So if you don't already plan to be there, try and make some plans. And then the next morning, the junior high and the JV football team will go to the Civic Assistant play. That's the next few weeks in that one. I think that was it.
I think you had the right click.
Oh, well, there we go, though. That's what we needed. Okay, now this is making it full screen again. That's odd. That's on a different screen than what that one has. I'm getting there. Just a second. I thought I was. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I can, do. Oh, cool, I got a picture. Thank you for the opportunity to talk tonight. I asked Sarah, from the band, a senior, who's going along, there's some, but I just wanted to update everybody, principals and everybody has heard, I could get scheduled to, as often as I can, to try to keep everyone in the loop. But so, one of the first things we did this year was new to the summer process. I took a class in spring, during class to basically call it music, and it's about leadership and music, about leadership mindset, leadership, and music. So one of the first things I did at the beginning of the year was at the end of June, I had 5 students that were really good leaders, and then we spent about 6 hours doing leadership training. A lot of it based out of the book that I read by Dr. Matthew Rao, and a lot of it past experiences. It's a fantastic job of that, and with some ideas that they wanted to do throughout the season. There's simply what he things we wanted to do, things they wanted to change or even add. We got into July, which was a relatively busy month. This year we had a couple of days of music rehearsal, and in between percussion, rookie camp, rookie camp, and we had a couple of days of music rehearsal. Then the first time this year we did dance camp and free. So we did 2 hours outside morning with fundamental drill, and then we did we had lunch here to get crossing. And each day we had a different group that next to lunch, and then the section came up with their own goals for those are hanging up in my room. And then we went to we worked on this before, but we weren't really sure what was going to happen. This was that was 19 July, and things are still up. So we were trying to prep for the football as much as possible. And hope that happened. Like we're all together, we don't say goodbye at the same time, trying to find other performance opportunities and so what we did was I looked into other opportunities that we could do. And after looking up all of the ones that they've done several previous years, most of those are podcasts that they wanted to do all of those things. So we went from not having anything to do with August, except for a couple of days of schedule, to now doing free parades and fair shows. In addition to 3 hours rehearsals a week. So their schedule became quite a bit more busy after that. So that meant a lot more work. One of the things that meant that you don't pick up when you hear marching band was addition. Last year, homecoming parade, that was our parade before homecoming show started. That was on Friday before show, and some of the kids didn't make all the way to the homecoming parade. We had two issues, and then we had Dr. Lons to live there right before so this year one of my things was addition marching. And grades we added were the cold water, grade, then the second grade, grade, and the first county share show and the county share show, which were back to back weeks. But the fourth grade was just over a mile, and it took usually about 30 minutes. So our goal was to march a mile. And at first I told them that, and it was looking at me very confused. But prior to that, I did much of short grade, which is literally the short grade I've done. I remember it going further on as I school, but last year, so I figured out what miles were considered. I don't know, multiple, just out, and it was around the parking lot up there in the demo. I probably looked like a crazy person just driving around to one of the people who was looking at where the truck was to go. And I passed it 3 different times. And the third time, he was like, "What's happening?" We figured out what a mile was, and we did that. We did that once. It got done, and then I asked how many of them that was the furthest marching, and they had all raised their hands. And some of them that I was worried about that in the past have had back issues or because they're 8.5 feet tall, I believe, like Toby. But the kids made it all the way through, and it was awesome. I was stoked. They were tired, but I was stoked. I had somebody pushing me, so that wasn't really an issue. But we did that. We did it about 3 times before that parade, and then one time it started before. Really great. I thought we would have pulled off on that, but it didn't. So we did those 3 parades, and then worked up a drill for the Mercer County Fair Show, which so one of the reasons the very first home game, the very first game that the football team played game, and the time got moved to 11 o'clock, and there was a cross country meet at 9 in West Mountain. So I ordered my band runs cross country, so there's just a time to do there for that game. Similar situation, their kids run in cold water. So my plan is as soon as they get done running, I'll just park at the finish line and they can run right into the car, and then we will drive safely back to the school in order to be able to play at the last home game of the 8th. One of the biggest things here at Bradford that we run into when you have a small student population and you have a certain number of that population that participates in a lot of things is you have to share kids. Sometimes sharing isn't always the word, although I've never had issues with all of the coaches I've been able to work with have been awesome. If I ask to have a kid during like a football practice or volleyball or whatever's going on, we've always been able to work really well together, and I think that's fantastic. But so we're able, in order to get all the kids, we practice from 6 to 8 at night, a couple of days a week, in order for things that, or to get ready for things that are coming up. But so I already explained all the different things that we added, and when I printed out the August schedule on an actual calendar, it was packed. We had 2 rehearsals, a fair show, and then a parade on the Saturday, and then a rehearsal on the fair show on the Monday after that. So it was a lot, and I always try to stress it looks like more than it is, but it was not the case. It was exactly as much as you would think. So had great attendance throughout, and the kids just did an incredible job just all around. And so after the Mercer County Fair Show, I got a text from a lady that I worked with who was turning her hair done, hairstyle like going to Mercer County Fair Show. And she told me that the lady said how cool it was that Bradford was at the show, and that the show we did was very memorable, and it was one of our favorite seasons that we were. They do it by size, biggest is the Thursday ever span. Only body kids. But to hear that from someone say that was their favorite performance out of just like cold water and all. And then just wanted to add that we did a good job. I'm proud of it. I asked Sarah for a lot of things. One of them being just like, here's my idea, this sounds ridiculous, or can you do it? So Sarah helped me a lot throughout the summer, getting things ready for summer band, and at one point we were organizing a bunch of good music, and I'm trying to find music for the show, and I kept following, how about this song I hear? And then what about this show? And then I knew we had the song Gila, and I had Caroline, and just went through Chicken David in there. So I'm on an audience participation show. He's like, I don't know what you mean. She did, but then we tried to find one more song that had this participation, and I came across the song Pine Flat. So we ended up for a show doing Gila, then Chicken Dance, where we were going on part of the night during that loopy part, they do loopy part, and then there's some really fair, really great ones. They all sit right along that track. All of them tell the end track, so we did Chicken Dance. The entirety of the Alliance band stood right behind ours with Chicken the whole time that was playing it. And they knew all of the songs. And then so that was pretty neat. And then you got a really big round of applause for who they did their spinning thing. And then when we did Sweet Caroline, the sound crowd was incredible. They were very good. It was really awesome. I thought that was a really neat experience. But I asked somebody that was how they felt about it. I was really too sad.
It was beyond amazing.
Yeah, our little event is out there. It's an entire grandstand full of people. That's kind of fair to yes.
I even heard that we have their applause that the mascots band did.
Yeah. So I think that's awesome. At the end of the show, all of the bands do that. All of the bands come together. And they've already got their music to work on, and they play them all together. At Christmas Canning, they rehearse, everybody runs together. They run through a song with Dr. Harrison White, and then they start doing the same thing at the very end. All the things were something 500 kids over one band, same all together. They're the track that plays the song. Pretty neat. And then I got the card. The beginning of February, and it was from the Parkway. And it says, "Dear band director, well, you are the largest band. Correct. You did the best performance of the month. Great love the chicken dance. Thank you so much for your show." Which I read it sometime. I mean, that's incredible. One of the things that I really want to go here is because all I do is get up there and do a show. They play my arms around. They're the ones actually doing all the work. I do it beforehand, and they have to put it together and make it sound good. And really did a fantastic job. Very proud of them in general, but very excited to share it with those things from other communities. Really here. And we also did the Dutch County fair show, and this was kind of second year I did the Dutch County fair show. So that was a good deal that they mentioned. And Frank Winter was another band. Been there way longer. And then they came in. So the rest of our this is just, I mean, it's a full sheet of practices and performances, just about everything all the way up to July. So it's a very busy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish months, not including rehearsal class. You go outside and drill on the field thing out there before we get attacked by that. And then the big thing coming up is the BBA South on the 8th. And 2 of my members are actually in 8th grade. So they have to do more marching band if they want to, so they have got everything. They work on the music outside of class. Sometimes I like to work on that in class if we're doing anything else they want to do. I have 2 students who are at the nursing center, so I are hosting it right now in North, they're having a band festival. And it's basically the same as the bear show, and they're have a halftime show or whatever it is that they want, and the crowd will be full of parents there, sports bands. So we talk about it today, where we, cross-country students run at the Wolfpack meeting in the morning, and then we have a 4 o'clock parade, and we basically hop on a bus and go to the track north, do march in the parade band, or the bike song, and then we do a show, and then, all the bands on the good. That's our march season.
Yeah, I just wanted to express like how proud I am each and every one of the people in the band. Like they worked extremely hard and had a very long season already. And every day they come out there, they've been tired, they complain a lot, but they still put in the work and they performed. So it was amazing. And through all 4 years that I was marching band, this was easily the greatest year I've ever had. Like yes, our schedule was long and lengthy and tiring, but they gave a lot of bonding time for the band, and then we've become a family, and it's amazing. I'm definitely gonna miss them a lot. But I'm very proud of them, and they've significantly gotten better compared to past years. So.
Yeah, one of the things we really did for the last year, but like I said, we were able to take the thing to see them once, and they're out there that they had us, and then we were spending the day at the point, and we thank Joe for allowing that to happen. And we're fortunate that lady has 2 students, 2 kids in advance, so we're set up that you have to drive up to that. But so thank you for allowing me to share all with you.
Prior to you being hired, part of our discussion was that our hopes was that you'd be able to take the band to the next level. And sure sounds like you are accomplishing that. And thank you for your participation in helping that along.
Yeah, so that's a very good thing. So we did 4 weeks.
So you're responsible for the mess.
There's a lot of pictures on the page, and but also kids that just don't know the kids that just really focus on now we get to take all the bags to the park.
Thank you.
He said 1,200.
It's really nice to see the band start to grow and be engaged. I remember when well, it was a long time ago. We had 60 members in the band, and we had a schedule that was like that. And so we want to be able to give those kids that experience. So it's great to see that happen. So next is Mrs. Brewer. Short and sweet. Next, turn the meeting over to Mr. Hurst.
I have things I'd like to talk about. First of all, this week, actually, before I do that, I'd like to say congratulations, but he's serving as a new role as the so congratulations are the word I want to say, but glad to see you. There you go. So, anyways, welcome. This week, the state report cards were released. We have some progress that we've made since last year. We have a lot of growth to make yet, and obviously there's some things that we definitely need to work on. We have already talked amongst our academic principals, administration here, about some of those things that we need to work on. We've already identified a number of things that can make the report card better. And I think I have high hopes that we'll see improvements every year. But like I said, Michelle and I sat down and talked about the gap indicator, for example. There's basically three different ways that you can, we assess our kids to see if they're on track or not. And we use all three of those things. We have to legally report to the state one assessment. We have been reporting all three. So if a student is excelling in two of those, but bombs the third test, they show up as behind track. And that goes for any one of the three. So we talked about, okay, let's pick one of those, report it to the state, and that will show that growth or an accurate assessment of which kids are still behind, as opposed to 3 times the chance that the kid's not going to do well on those assessments. So like I said, we've got a lot of growth to make, but I am proud that we're already focused on those things. Our teachers and administration have been working hard at that, and I expect nothing but to see that growth in the future. That being said, we have a group called LifeWise Academy that has approached the school to talk about a program where they pull kids and do character building off school grounds using the Bible and gospel and different church methods. I have a folder for each of you there that you can take home. I've sent a couple links out to you. Take a look at those. Give me feedback. Tell me what you think. I think there's a lot of positives can happen with something like this. There are a lot of questions that I still have with academics. What does the curriculum look like? And they've shared that with me. I haven't gone through it. We had a meeting last week. I've got a number of resources to research what LifeWise is. I've talked to a number of superintendents already. I've got a lot of feedback with that. I think my primary concern right now is just after we get done talking about our report card, I don't want to pull our kids and lose academic time to have them work on other pieces outside of those academics. So we're going to have to be creative to figure out how this will work. But I truly do want your feedback. So if any of you have already researched and looked at those links or read anything or know anybody in a neighboring district that does this, please, even now, if you'd like to voice any opinions, you're welcome to. If you want to do that privately, you're welcome to. But before the next meeting, I'd like to hear kind of what you guys have to think, because I wouldn't be surprised if we had a presentation at the next meeting just to kind of outline what it is. And the group will probably come in and do a short presentation and then ask for feedback there as well. So anybody have anything they want to share or question?
I've been familiar with it for a few years now.
Mhm.
I don't know a lot of detail about it, but this was something that had been looked at for the Bradford community 10, 12 years ago, that I was actually involved in at that time, that our daughter got increasingly sick. Feedback that I've got from other people has been very positive, but I do not know a lot of detail.
Okay. Well, if anybody does have questions, please ask. If anybody has, like I said, that feedback, please share. I've been watching, I asked Cody to put together some numbers and he shared that with me, and I didn't bring the list with me in here tonight. But we've been recording how many people have been watching our virtual meetings here. We had 2 special meetings that had really, really low, I'll call it virtual attendance, with 4 and 9 people. Take those 2 out. We had one that was as big as 598 people watched the video. Now, that's not necessarily 598 people watching, but it was 598 views. So it could have been the same person multiple times even. But we've been averaging right around 30, 35, maybe 40 people each month. So realistically, I'd like to continue with that. We have looked and researched a couple different options instead of using the Chromebooks here that you see in front of you and having Cody set each one of these up every month. We've talked about a central camera with some microphones and things like that on that might make things a little bit more streamlined and easy to set up. So we're looking into those. But didn't know if you guys had heard anything from community members, good, bad, or anything indifferent about sharing these online. Well, if we can continue to communicate this way, I'm not
It's a
opposed
great
to
opportunity
it.
for people to be able to get engaged, but not have to be here at
Not be here.
6 to 7. You know, be able to log in, get up to date, feel isolated. So I think it's a great opportunity if you can figure out a way to make it mechanically more,
A little easier.
yeah, feasible and a little more functional. I think that would be great. I think there's a good reason.
Okay. And currently we have 3 live people. Hi, 3 people watching. So, is anybody online? So, and one of them could have been me when I got on just a few minutes ago too. So, yeah, there you go. There you go. I would like to say too, we've talked about this is a good meeting room to do this. I kind of wanted to gauge how it sounded in the Hickory room tonight with the volleyball game going on, how many distractions we had in here. We've talked about moving over to the Hickory room and kind of leave things set up a little bit better to keep from infringing on Mrs. Moore in her classroom every month. So we'll investigate that, but does anybody have any objections to moving to the Hickory room if that works out? And I will be spread out uniform that we've got now, and I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. What's that? There you go. That's true. That's true. With that, unless anybody is, well, I didn't say anything about construction. Just a quick construction update. We checked compaction last week of the track and everything that's down underneath the gravel. Everything seemed pretty good. They outlined 6 or 7 spots that were kind of soft. So our construction guy is going to come out, dig those out, put gravel in there, and pack it in more, and put more gravel on and pack it in more, and do that a couple times. And then when that's done, he'll start laying gravel around the whole track, and then we'll be ready. The goal right now, or the timeline right now, is October 1st. Our concrete guy will be here to start laying out the forms and start pouring concrete for the sidewalks that go around the track. And then once that's done, they'll use that as a guide to lay the asphalt up to that concrete, weather permitting, of course. And knowing that we're already approaching November with that in mind, it may be too cold at this point to lay that asphalt this year, or maybe spring. But they will have the concrete done in October, the light pole bases for the 4 field lights that'll go around the field. Those will be put in place within the next month. We're working on irrigation. You'll see in tonight's agenda, we've got it. We've been talking to a number of irrigation specialists. We've got quotes on those, but we're going back and forth. And maybe this is a question for you guys about whether we need to tap into the existing city water, have it metered so it's separate from the sewer and we don't get double billed for that. And of course, council is meeting Thursday this week, I believe, to talk about some different options with that. So we'll know more prices after that. But the other option is building or drilling another well, which we're trying to figure out, okay, is it cost effective to build or drill say a $10,000 well? How many years of city water would that take to offset that cost? So we're looking at those. We've got a contractor right now that's being very good to us and seems very cost efficient. But we want to make sure we've got all of our possibilities in line before we make that plunge. And that's why some of these motions on here are a little more vague than I'd like to have. But that's one example of, we're there. We want to move forward as quickly as we can. We don't want to have a special board meeting just for an irrigation contract if we can help it. But I do apologize for not being more specific on some of these motions tonight with that in mind. So that being said, any questions for me?
Well, it's been a way. I think you might have even said gotten worse at one point, but what do we count that for? Second or third grade, school showing up unprepared for their grade.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about with the conversation that Michelle and I had. That's the 3 assessment thing. Yep. So if we narrow that down to just 1 assessment, I think, Michelle, you said there were 13 kids.
We're trying to catch as many as we possibly could. That's what made the gap look the way it does in that report card. So we used 2 tests and then teacher recommendation as well. We don't have to do that. We only have to report 1. We were trying to make sure we didn't miss any students. But if we look at the 1 test, which is going to be used for dyslexia, catching, and those types of things, reading, dyslexia law that's coming down, it would take us down, it would take 13 of those off of being in the red. So it would make the numbers not be that there's such a gap. So we're using too many assessments to decide whether the kids were on track or not. And we don't have to report to the state.
How do we determine that you're approaching the end of a school year, your child is actually ready to move up? Are we being as helpful as we can to them in the long term, holding them back if we need to?
Well, that's a discussion that's had every school year. The teachers are asked for recommendations. In the end, you have a conversation that starts like in February of kids that are on the radar, whether they're where they need to be. There are a lot of absences that took place during COVID times that, now we have the gap of, is it now they have a learning disability, or is it because they miss so much school? So there's a lot of pieces that are falling into place of COVID regression, I would say, because there were a lot of days. If you look at the grade cards, and Mr. Daugherty can attest to the amount of students that, if we would have filed truancy based on COVID numbers, there would have been a lot of truant cases, but COVID was like exempt. So if a parent said their child had COVID, the kid would try to get caught up, but they were missing that direct instructional time. So I think the numbers are going to improve based on the fact that already I see numbers are higher as far as not missing as many days. They're in school more often based on the month that we've had. So I think the ability to stay in school will make a difference. And we do offer summer school to students. And, some want to go to summer school, some do not want to attend summer school because, again, it's the preference of what is most important to their families. And kids do need breaks occasionally. So taking a look at how much data we're gathering, what data has to be reported, but using all the data correctly is the big piece to get those gaps filled. And as far as retention, you have to look at a lot of determiners, and we have like checklists to help us make a good determination of whether a child's good to be retained or if they're at risk of being a student that may not even graduate down the road. So it's very much something we take into great consideration when we're deciding whether it is a priority for retention, if that's what's best for the child, or if we need to find more supports for that child. If I answered the question or not.
I don't want to come off really say this, but every other school has absence because of COVID too, and they still did much better. And I know we were improving, but every year we always hear excuses. But every school has these excuses, and they're doing well. Not everyone, but I'm just saying.
Well, one of the things that's not on the report card, and we haven't gotten the data yet, but if you would have taken a look last year, if you take a look at our value added, we have one of the best value added in county, in Miami County. What value added is our kids are making a year's growth. They start here, they make that year's growth. They're still not at the point where they're able to be successful on our test. So our teachers are teaching a year's worth of content more in a year. We won't get to see the value added data for this year until October. And until we really see that data, it's kind of tough when you're running a race and you're starting 100 yards behind everybody, and you're expected to reach the same finish line that they are.
And if you were to see our KRA scores, which is the kindergarten readiness assessment, we are very much behind when you look at the KRA scores. So to say that we haven't made the growth, like Bob said, you can see huge growth, but our kids are coming in a lot further behind than many. I mean, portion of it is
Is it because we don't have a preschool that we offer here at Bradford other than Head Start? You know, Head Start is all economic based. So is that a piece of that's causing some of them? It's hard to tell, but we are usually, if you look at the data, and I'll get the KRA data sent out to you guys, you can see where these kids are coming in a lot lower than the other school districts, and we have growth we have to make.
I mean, that's one of the things that I wish that was on the report card more, you know, when the value added data came out, I wish the news reports came out with that as well. Everybody focuses on the report card, they don't focus on the actual growth that the students are making. And I'm not saying that we can't do more and do better. We're instituting, you know, we're working on instituting maybe a new assessment to maybe try to catch some of these kids that are going to not do as well on the test. We're piloting that this year. So, I mean, we're doing some things to kind of help out. But, you know, the report card, I don't like how it shows the data. Basically, it says every kid starts at the same spot in Ohio, when that's not the case at all.
Right.
And you know, excuses are excuses. There's still room for improvement. So to say it's just an excuse, there's always room for improvement and finding better ways to help the
I
kids.
see where things are getting better. Someone said the other day, we have a lot of open enrollment students. Yeah, so does Newton, so does Versailles, and look how well they're doing. So that is not a good excuse. You know, I just think that I see improvement. I hope we keep continuing to improve every year. But like just about like the absences in COVID, everybody else had that too. So I just think, hopefully we do better.
And here's kind of what she was talking about. I just pulled up the percentages here. The kindergarten diagnostics say that our kindergartners start our school district here, 28%, 28.3% of them are on target when they start here. That means 71.7% of our incoming kindergartners are behind where they should be when they start. So those are the type of things I'm not sure all school districts have to play with. And those are things like, what do we do with them before we get there? What can we do to get them up to par to start our school? And that's why the kindergarten program is helping. Those type of things are making progress, but it's still difficult. And like she said, the three tests, the three assessments is going to make those other numbers skewed. But to start with, that low efficiency, something every school has.
And our numbers, our population, we have students. So like one student is going to be like 5%. I mean, the percentages are skewed too, because if you're in any other district, I think Bradford's probably the smallest district I know in Miami County. That one person is a huge percent compared to
2.8% of those classes.
But a percent is still a percent. It's not saying 10 kids, it's saying 1%. Everybody's percent is the same. A percent is a percent of your kids, or your population. Unfortunately, ours is 1 or 2 kids, but it's still based on percentages.
It is, but what I'm saying is one of our students is worth more percent than what one might be in Mississippi, or not Mississippi, but like Covington and Troy. So each of our students is worth more than one student in another district because they're bigger population.
Because it's based on percentage. Percentage is the same. If our kids are 10%, you have 1,000 kids, it's still based on percentage.
That percentage is a lot more quickly.
Correct.
That's what I'm
But same way, there's other schools the same thing that are the same way.
I'm not arguing the point that we can't do better. There's no question that we can't do better. And that's the plan for us to do. Like Mr. Hurst said, some of the things that we're looking at, and every year we can improve. If we say we can't, even if our numbers are good, at least you've always got to be.
At least we're seeing,
we got to continue. So.
One thing that I was talking about last night is various communities have various stages of population. Maybe just struggle with situations altogether. And Bradford has a higher percentage of that than say Versailles. And so that all factors into. And some things we can control and improve upon, some things we can't.
But
there always is ways to improve. So,
So here's something for a plan. You know, you have recognized the areas for improvement that we're striving towards, finding that improvement.
And then
If
if
there's
there's resources you need or try to be engaged with providing, I think we would be open to bring in what resources we need for you guys to do the investigation and figure out what we need to do, create the workflow to get the kids the education they need. If they're starting lower, maybe we have to have that conversation. Either gonna get a year and a half in a year, or we're gonna have some opportunities to bring us up to speed. So I think figuring out what we need, and I don't know if there's any comparison data in the state that compares to like districts. You know, that may be something that you're looking at is, you know, with the current socioeconomic status and size, to see are we off the curve? Or are we on the curve and we're dealing with a metric issue? It's going to be difficult to overcome. It'd be skewed just based on our population and the way the statistics ran. So I think that's good information to know. But I think as a group, we're here to support our team to get what they need. Do the deep dive. We need additional people that bring in experts to help you go through the data, compare us with other districts, help find the problems for us. You guys can take action. And I think we're here to support each other.
and I appreciate the conversation because I don't want you to not be a part and ask those questions. So I do appreciate any conversation and the support that you're giving us to find those resources that we need.
Thanks. Next, Jack. Are you having more? You're done? Okay. And next is survey for our treasurer report.
Well, the things I have to bring forth are not nearly as exciting as a lot of the things I've seen here tonight, but they're essential to our operation, and there are a couple of things that are coming through on the board tonight that I wanted to tell you about. Our audit started last week, and it's very interesting this year. This is the first time, I think, in the history of the school that we are not going through the state auditor's office. And as a result of that, they are asking very intense number of questions, as Mr. Hurst got some opportunity to see, because I said, you're going to take care of this section. But I've asked them to do it completely off-site because we don't need extraneous bodies running around during this time. We did that completely last year. It probably takes more time on my end because I'm having to prepare and put things into folders, but by the same token, it gives me a chance to review everything that they're looking at prior to them getting that. It's been kind of interesting as I go through it, because since they don't have work papers from before and they're supposed to be sharing that with the state auditors, we are asked for many things that I have never been asked about in audit before, many things that we were not doing when we came to this district, when we both, but they've been instituted. We have all that in place. So it's a matter of pulling the data and getting that to them. So he asked me if I'd ever worked with anybody outside the state auditor's office. I said, no, I haven't. He said, the one thing you'll appreciate about us is that we will not be here as long. So that's the positive. And I'm going to hold him to that. So you will be approving the financial statements tonight. I got those done on the 29th of August, got those completed. These will be what's audited. We're doing one every year. As you know, we have more grants. We have more federal money than we've ever had before. When I got here, we had around 100,000 in federal money. Last year, when I did the federal statement, it was 1.3 million. So we've made quite a leap of dollars that we're managing in that. And that doesn't even include any of the COVID money, because we've really not spent a lot of that COVID money yet. So that's a positive. It may be a negative that we're being looked at so much, but I've never worried. He asked me, he said, are there people that I need to contact? And I said, I'm going to send you the whole employee book, and you can pick anybody out of there and talk to them, because they want to know what you do with fraud. You experienced that last year. You may be contacted. Any of you may be contacted to see if there's any concerns about fraud. just want to bring that forward. And quite honestly, I'm not. I think this is a very good district, that everybody is here to do the right things. And I just don't see any problems with that. We've got enough safeguards. But if you are asked those questions, don't be surprised. And you don't have to tell me if they ask those questions. I just want to give you forewarning that I gave them the entire staff book and I said, ask anybody you want. So I have a feeling they will be asking some people around here, and just giving a little bit of heads up that this is actually legitimate, that they'll be contacting you. Today I went through fixed asset training. As I told you before, we're going to have to get these put into order. We've got new software that's come in. I trained on it today. Trying to upgrade everything that has been left since 2003. We've got some files that we're implementing, and I think we'll have everything in by the end of the year. I think that'll be in good shape and finally up to speed. It's been the one thing that I've wanted to make sure has been done since I found out very shortly the condition of it when I got here. So that will be taken care of. And I'm going to talk a little bit about construction, because the one thing that I was expecting Mr. Hurst to talk about is our camera in the back that's on the website that allows you to see what's going on. I was around this weekend and I was showing everybody, I said, here's the construction project. This is what's going on. And it's really pretty unusual to be able to see moment by moment. And we're in close proximity, which I think has been a great thing for us, because we live this every day. We're living this experience every day. We know when they're working. We know when they're making progress. We walked the proof rolls last week. We know if there's problems. Everything so far has been really as good as we anticipated, but better than the construction people anticipated, because we kind of knew what was out there and had some confidence level in it. So I just wanted to tell you that I think this is a great opportunity. And Mr. Hurst is putting it up on the screen right now. It's really amazing that when they built the school originally, that they had the foresight that field is actually, the crown of the field is actually at the right spot. So it's more of a modification of the current land, and the company who's really working as a GC on this has a lot of knowledge about what's going on with the dirt. The practice field is going to be in a different location because it makes more sense. It will be a better setup. And there's a lot of conversation going on back and forth. And I just think that it's exciting to be able to walk in every day into the back door of our offices with our new swipe badges. That is another safety innovation that we have, and just be able to watch the progress. So I've got to tell you, I have enjoyed being involved with this, and I want to thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to do this. And Mr. Hurst, if you have anything you want to add, but it's been a good experience.
Yes.
The sundial is pretty interesting too.
The nice light pole sundial there. Yeah.
Carla, how many dollars of COVID money are we holding, and what's the time allotment?
Well, one of the grants, and this is why, one of the grants is around 700,000, and most of that has to be done by this year. There's another grant that's special ed for 237,000. And there's another one that I need to tell Bob came into the CCIP for 176,000. All those being said, we have to manage those very well, because one of the things that with those grants, you cannot supplant what you're presently doing, or you can supplant what you're presently doing, which is not typical. But what you can't do, the intent of that money is to add things to the district. One of the things that we ran into, we would have been able to use part of this on the track project you get into federal money, that would have been prevailing wage, and that probably would have increased the project by anywhere from 10 to 25%. So we opted to do that. So we're being very thoughtful about the way that's spending money. A lot of it is for academic progress. A lot of it is to, in fact, on ESSERS 3, ARP ESSERS, that has to be 20% academic progress. So there's, to tell you exactly what's going on, it's been dynamic in trying to figure out how the best way to spend money, because we have other grants and we have to manage this all one time. And when you have all these dollars come in and they're restricted, have to be very smart so that you maintain those dollars and you don't lose any of them. So we've got a good team working on it. And I really feel like we're making some progress, but it would have been nice to have this spread over a few more years. In answer to your other question, some of it goes to 2024, June of 2024. So we have a deadline of June of 2023, a deadline of June 2024. And a lot of our safety concerns are going to be dealt with the grant, but we're trying to be creative on trying to do various things with that money. So it's still dynamic. We're going to go through and do a new plan for the money. We spent some of it last year, and these are the reserves. So we've got about $1 million left over in those COVID funds. And we will be working towards getting those spent. But the accountability piece that I have to make sure of is I have a number. I actually have 2 numbers that I have to monitor. And we have to spend at least that much in general fund and other funds. And I have to make sure we don't minimize that, or we will have to give the money back. And we are not going to do that. I've not done that in my career. Don't plan on it now. So, and with that, I conclude my report.
Any questions?
I will clarify one more thing too. We did switch. We originally, you mentioned this, but we were going to dump out some money into the track. But like she said, with prevailing wages, we try to find ways to use it here in the district as opposed to putting it in there where we'd have to use that prevailing wage and cost more. So.
Were you able to, would that affect the entire track project?
Yeah.
Or just the place where that was used?
It realistically, the way the law is written, it would taint the whole project. So we did split it into the 2 phases, the track part itself, and then the building is the secondary phase. We thought as we went into the track project itself wouldn't have that big of an impact with prevailing wage changes, because most of the companies and contractors that you deal with would be exempt from that, or really wouldn't make much of a difference in price. When we started into it, we found out that wasn't necessarily true. So it would eat up a larger percentage of that. So that's why we changed gears and went the other way.
And one of the things that we've been able to do with the ESSERS money that is permissible, in the first ESSERS grant that we had, that all went to the HVAC systems, because that was an improvement we could make. That wasn't typical every year. And we still have work to do on the building. And if we're going to check on some ability to do even some of the roof replacement because of the possibility of mold, there are ways you can construct this and be able to do work that you're going to do down the road and just accelerate that process. So that's the thoughts behind what we're doing. We're just trying to be very creative, because our intent is to use that money for long-term situations that down the road, when it's not there, we'll have those things taken care of. So.
Any other questions?
So maybe we set phase 2.
Maybe, but that's probably not going to be any better.
This is bad. Yeah. It'll open up opportunities for us. Other questions? Next is public participation. Any requests?
And that will move to
the rest of our meeting. So the next item is the financial reports from the treasurer, which is items 1 through 16. It's going to quickly paraphrase it. It's the financial journal, the now and then certifications, transfer and advances, approving the temporary and permanent appropriations, the approval of the financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, grants and donations, application for employee wellness grant, accept an award for the impact teen drivers. Also recommend approving a contract with BMH CPA Group for the governmental auditing. And that's what we'll be voting to approve. I have a motion to approve those items reviewed.
Any discussion over those 1 through 16
of our agenda.
None, then roll call for approval.
Mr. Besecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle.
Yes.
We have no new business. We have items 1 through 13, which goes through page 9. And the superintendent recommends employment for substitute contracts for supplemental assignments, item 1. Approving retirement for Cindy Engel and resignation for Larry Barger. Agreement with Southwest Ohio Purchasing Council, tuition reimbursements. Approving the adjustment to the calendar, revising the calendar with an addition of early release on the last day of school on May 25th and possible makeup day on February the 17th. Partner with the Miami County Educational Service Center for a collaborative business council. Approving to move Corey Cannon to a Master's Plus. An out-of-state troop for the golf team, acceptance of the tuition increase to $70 a day for the West Central Juvenile Detention, early graduation for Trevor Penny. Approving Derek Skinner and Wendy Way for district reps for IAP and ETR meetings. And item 11 is the one that is different and was adjusted. It actually reads recommend reimbursing Brian Sweetman in an amount of $115 for the successful completion of his commercial driver's license testing. This reimbursement will occur after Mr. Sweetman drives for Bradford Exempted Village in the amount of 20 hours. It was the addition change in number 11. And number 12 is agreement with For Sales Exempted Village for transmitting their students during 2022-23. And the last item is creating a position not yet filled for driving Bradford students using the school van for the collaborative education, special education in Dark County. The motion to accept the 13 items listed. Thanks, Maria. And a second. Any discussion or questions over those items that we have listed?
I don't usually draw attention to these, but we've got 2 resignations on there. Larry, we're going to be sad to see him leave. But I would like to specifically point out Mrs. Engel. She's been here, it's 33 years, all in the same district here. She's been an incredible staple and a role model. There's going to be a large void to fill when she walks out of these hallways for the last time. So just want to pass that along.
Thanks for the call out.
Mhm.
Any other comments or board member questions? None, a roll call for approval.
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer, Pastor Rindle.
So the next set of items, 14 through 20, kind of really relate to the track project. So it's approving the alternate bid for shoreline power for field lighting. The superintendent recommends authorizing agreement with following contractors for the new bus storage building previously bid in the track project and also were excessive costs and those were rejected at the time of the bidding. Also outside the scope of the competitive bidding requirements, item 3 is soliciting proposals from firms qualified to perform the work. And item 4 is recommending approval of the proposals listed 16 through 20. So those are the approval to install irrigation, approval to for Jameson Concrete for site prep and gravel, approving electrical contract on the bus barn for Mike Levy Electric, approving Dayton Fence Masters for fencing around the track, And lastly, Bowser Moner for compact testing not to exceed $12,000. Motion to approve the construction-related items.
So,
And a second? Second. Scott. Questions or comments regarding those items?
No, that is, basically tapping into the city. But we've got back, in this program, so secondary years for a supplement, so to speak, it was still basically.
Any other questions? And thanks. Roll call for.
what size water line is coming up this direction?
Yeah, there's plenty of water there. Is it a 6-inch line that goes behind the school? Do you know how big that water line is? I know that we were talking about 2 inches come off of it to supply the new building and another 2-inch line to supply the building and another 2-inch line to supply the irrigation line. So that's 4 inches there total. I thought it was a sizable water. Here it said, yeah, there'd be no problem with pressures and things like that.
I think that one is, the one in front of the building's 4-inch.
Okay.
That's, I made the
That's possible.
about that.
I would, I'd lie into you if I told you anything right now. Uh-huh. Yeah, we actually met with Mr. Looker. Yes.
Yesterday.
And talked about, what's this look like, and if we meter this, what's it going to cost, and those type of things. And he made it sound like it wouldn't be an issue. There were some hurdles that may come down the road. There's expansion village or something like that we have to look at. But realistically, I got the impression that it'll be okay to do this, and hopefully we've got a good partner there to work with us. Wouldn't that be fun? That'd be fun. Well, in realistically, that's how this conversation came from. The irrigation folks came in and wanted, 80 gallons per minute
Yes.
out of a well. The current well on baseball 927 gallons per minute. So we said, we really want to tap into that, pushing that, and there were a lot of shy because of that. So we said, okay, well, if we drill a new well, what's that going to look like? And every well driller we talked to said that you're going to get 28 gallons a minute. So we could put wells in now here and give them what they want, but I'm afraid that wouldn't be effective. Let's just say that for watering our lawn 4 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year, 2 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year.
And Skip has had absolutely no problem keeping the ball diamonds watered. He's very experienced with what's going on here, knows what's happened in the past, and it's more than adequate. But we have to convince some people that are working with us the same thing. So that's been a challenge too.
And irrigation is kind of one of those tricky things. That's obviously a goal, but the bigger piece is making sure the ground is soft. We do play ball in field. It's not rock when we get hard, and we get a lot of it out there. So it does take concern to making sure we've got a good ground for it to play on. So.
Mr. Besecker?
Yes.
Mr. Manuel?
Yes.
Dr. Swab?
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer? Pastor Rindle?
Next item is 121 to executive session for motion G1 to approve. Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch, there was a competition for that second. Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer, Pastor Rindle.
7:54.
And,
And,
Now is 8:51. A motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And a second? Roll call for adjournment.
Mr. Beeser,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Ms. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle.
8:51. Thanks, everybody, for